Hi, I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Summer,
And
we are
Woman to
Woman. We have created this platform to help women remove judgment and shame away from themselves by educating women on women.
We hope to create a safe space where you can feel heard, understood, and empowered to connect to the woman that you truly are.
We started this journey within ourselves, and then we started to reach beyond ourselves and chatting with friends, family, strangers about what we've learnt, what we've understood. And we came to a realization that we have so much to give, and we want to be able to share that with so many more women.
So, this is why we have created this platform to be able to connect to more than just the people in our lives, to be able to spread what we have learned and what we are currently learning with women so we can really begin to understand who we are and just grow and learn all about us.
So recently, we have completed a course in mindfulness, and today we're going to talk about things that resonated with us throughout this course and things that we've learnt.
Perfect. So let's start with, what did we think mindfulness was before we started this course?
So when I first heard of mindfulness, I thought it was about sitting and trying to take all the thoughts away from your brain and just sitting and being present. And I thought that I was so bad at it because I just couldn't seem to shake these thoughts, and there was just so much negative thoughts in my head and I just couldn't get away from it, and I just felt like I was so bad at mindfulness because of that. And then I realized after learning more about it that that is not what mindfulness is about at all. So what is mindfulness?
Mindfulness is where we intentionally take time to bring our awareness solely on one aspect of ourselves, whether it be our breath, our emotions, our thoughts, our bodily sensations, whatever we're going into the space with the intent to do and focus on. That is what mindfulness is, because it's mindfulness practice. Like, it's something that we practice to do. Like, it's not we start it one day and we're just instantly good at it. Because I did think as well that I wasn't good at mindfulness because I had all these thoughts in my head. But being aware and bringing your awareness and your intentions back to what you solely went in for is just as important as mindfulness as it is. Like, it's insane how different it actually is.
It is. And I think if you just look at the word mindfulness as it is, it's mindfulness. Your brain is going to be full. Your mind is just constantly running. And it's understanding the sensations that are going through your body and the way that you're feeling while those thoughts are going in your head. It's creating a space where you feel safe enough to have those thoughts in your head and understand how you're feeling and bringing it into yourself and creating that safe space. So then when you are in a more heightened phase of how you're feeling, you're able to become more aware and have a better understanding and more capacity to be able to bring yourself back within.
Yeah, because one of the key things that I learned from mindfulness is that being aware of our thoughts as they arise or our emotions as they arise is just as important in mindfulness than actually, we need to be able to, when our thoughts arise, be able to acknowledge them in a non-judgmental way, where instead of trying to ignore them or push them aside, we're actually trying to raise our awareness with curiosity.
How many times a day do you have a negative thought come up in your head and you go, why are you thinking like that? Stop. It's not stop. It's reframing the way that you see those, because you're never going to take those negative thoughts. You're never going to take stress away. You're never going to take anxiety away. But how you respond to those is what you can change. And you can change that through mindfulness.
And that's the thing with mindfulness. It's a practice. So we're training our brain to be able to ideally get in that state of meditation. And that's also what I've learned, the difference between mindfulness and meditation. Meditation is when you are able to get your mind and body into a certain state that you want it to be. But mindfulness is that practice of getting to that state. So every time you practice mindfulness, you are meditating because you're practicing training your brain and your body and your awareness.
And it's really important to train your body and that awareness, because when you tend to get in that heightened phase where mindfulness is really important, your amygdala, which is your feelings and your fear responses, it tends to hijack your brain. And if you aren't able to identify when it's starting to hijack your brain, once it's completely hijacked, it is so hard to get out of it. It is so hard to use any techniques that you've learnt to get out of it. But if you can catch it early and you can understand when your body is feeling those physical sensations in your body, you can start to realize when your amygdala is taking over, when your prefrontal cortex, your logical part of your brain, is starting to shut off and your amygdala is taking over. And you can learn to identify that and learn to cope and understand it by mindfulness and practicing having those feelings and those thoughts in your brain in a safe space, feeling the physical sensations in your body. Where does your body react when those thoughts come up? Because then if you have a thought of anxiety and you feel it in your hands start tingling. If you're in a situation you feel your hands start tingling, you instantly know, oh, my anxiety is starting to peak here. And you're able to find ways that work for you to bring it within before it's too late.
Because the main thing with the amygdala is that is mainly an unconscious part of ourselves, where your prefrontal cortex is our conscious brain. So the brain that we're using now to speak or for you to listen, like, this is a completely different brain to when our amygdala takes over. It's because we have two brains, our logical thinking brain, our prefrontal cortex, which is our left side of the brain, and then our emotional brain, which is where the amygdala is. In a heightened state, that completely takes over and this brain shuts off. So being able to create a mindfulness practice where we are in our conscious brain, it actually helps create those pathways to our amygdala. So that's when we can acknowledge, oh, I think maybe it's starting to kick in, where you say like your anxiety, your hands are tingling. Okay, so that's kicking in. My conscious brain is aware of it before that emotional brain completely takes over, which is so cool. Like,
it is so cool
how we, like, 95% of our brain processing is unconscious, yet through mindfulness we're able to bring our awareness in our conscious brain to be able to connect to that part of us.
So what was it, 11 million unconscious thoughts are going through you, but you're only able to consciously know of 40. For our senses, our five senses, 110 million. It's something ridiculous. Yeah, that is so
110
crazy.
million sensory inputs are going through our body, but we're just unaware of them because we can only consciously think about 40 of them. Even 40 per second is insane.
That is so insane. I don't understand how, it is conscious, but it is also subconscious, unconsciously. Yeah. Because there is that disconnection. There is such a disconnection between your mind and your body and your brain. So you're not able, as much as it is consciously, it's a lot unconsciously because of that disconnection. The more that you connect your mind and your brain with your body, the more that you're able to consciously be aware of it, which is why you start to understand, I can feel my hands tingling, I know what's going on inside of my body. And I think the amygdala is such a powerful thing to talk about, because there's been so many situations where my amygdala has taken over, and then once my prefrontal cortex retakes charge of my brain, I always go, why did I respond like that? Like that was so not me. Because it is. It's like having personality disorder. It's like different parts of you are taking control. Different parts of your brain take control of your body. It takes the wheel. And if you strengthen that connection with your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala and your body that amygdala won't take over as much or as harshly because your prefrontal cortex has a better understanding of what's going on and can use the logical techniques that you've learnt through your mindful practices in a safe space to respond to how your body and your brain is reacting.
But that takes time,
So
lot
much
of time. Like I learned so much about like my coping skills and my coping mechanisms, but then when I went into like my PTSD and my complete logical brain was shut off, but I like my emotional brain, like I could hear like a tiny bit of my conscious brain being like, no, I know how to help myself out of this, but I just couldn't, because I knew I had the strategies within me, but I couldn't access them because it was shut off. But that's also a thing that we learned through this, with the difference between our mind and our brain. Like we think that they're the same thing, but they're two completely different things. Our brain is like our organ. It's the structures, it's the pathways. It's like, it is an organ. But our mind is how we see and how we perceive everything.
Yeah, perception.
Yeah, and it is just insane how one thing that really stuck out to me with this course is that we don't see objects as they are. We see them how we are. And our brain is what sees, it's what hears, it's what feels. Like our senses don't do that. It's our mind and our brain. And our perceptions are influenced through our opinions, our beliefs, our experiences, our memories. So what we see in the world isn't actually what you see or what everyone else sees. It's what we see. Like how crazy that we live in the same world, but none of us live in the same world as what we see.
I think that's where so much conflict comes in, because of the different perceptions of the world. And the more that you are in tune with your own perception, the better you are able to communicate and understand other people's perception of the world, a situation, how they're feeling. Because there's so many times where you just cannot seem to understand why someone's reacted a certain way, feels a certain way, but that's their own perception. How you're feeling is your own perception. Just because you don't feel the same way doesn't mean that it's wrong or right. It's your own perception. And if you're not able to identify your own perception, then you're not going to understand their perception, and you're not going to have that sympathy and empathy around the way that they're feeling, and you're going to feel such a disconnect from that person because you're not connected within yourself. So the more that you connect within yourself, the more connections you'll find around you, and the more love and kindness that you're going to be able to see in the world, because you're perceiving it so much more differently, and you're able to see the way that others are perceiving situations too.
And that is exactly what mindfulness is. Like mindfulness, when we practice mindfulness, we're training our brain. We are literally rewiring the structure and the circuits within our brain. And then as we do that, we're changing our perceptions. We're changing how we react to things, because we're aware of, oh, when my fight or flight or amygdala starts to kick in, this is how I respond to things. And when you're in that intentional time with yourself, which is mindfulness, you're able to identify and acknowledge the different ways that you do react to certain things and stresses in life. And what I find so cool about like a lot of the things that we learn, like resilience, that is a skill that we learn. Concentration and attention, like that's a skill that we learn. Mindfulness is a practice. It's something that we learn. Like everything in life that we think we're not good at, it's just because we haven't given ourselves the time to learn it. Like we're such, for the like amount of, like our brain, it's the most complex structure in the whole universe. Like we are such cool beings, but we're just so disconnected and unconscious. We just don't give ourselves the time to really connect to who we are. And that's where mindfulness comes in. That is the intentional time to connect to ourselves.
And I think that knowledge and understanding of it can change so much perception as it is. So like with my PMDD, my premenstrual dysphoric disorder, I find it so hard to use so many of my coping mechanisms during those stages. But when I'm in my follicular phase, where I'm so alert, I'm so focused, my concentration is up, I really try focus on that mindfulness and those practices, because it's the time where my brain can actually start to comprehend the strategies and how my body is feeling in those states. So then when I used to get into my PMD state, I'm like, why? Like, I just forget everything. Like, this is useless. It doesn't work. But the longer you go about it and the longer you do it, the more you start to realize how your body is feeling, how that you want to respond to, compared to how you are responding. And it shortens that burst, because your body gets filled with so much adrenaline, and that's a lot what the sensations in your body are. It's adrenaline and cortisol in your body moving through, feeling it in certain ways depending what you're thinking about, which is why there's so much strategies of like movement and things. But depending on the severity of how you're feeling and where you've gotten to a point of being able to identify how your body is feeling, depends on how much movement that you need to do and how much mindfulness you need to do. If I've not been able to identify where I am and my amygdala has completely taken over, a walk does nothing for me. It's not enough. But doing an intense run and releasing that adrenaline, releasing that cortisol, creating enough movement in my body and that sensation of the movement to allow my brain to actually then be able to sit in what I'm feeling. Because your body feels it, and your brain cannot respond to situations if your body isn't responding. Like, your body responds to it first and more intensely, which is why it's really important to focus on them physical sensations, because understanding how your physical sensation is feeling, then you're able to talk to your brain. If you're not feeling your body first, then your brain, that connection's lost.
And that's the thing with when we are in that heightened state, our emotional brain feels things way faster than our conscious brain does. And that's why it's so insane to be able to acknowledge what is actually happening, because our amygdala and our nervous system already knows, and it's already in that fight or flight state before we can even think about it, which is why mindfulness is important. It's not just disregarding and like trying to avoid stress or bad things that are going to happen to our lives. Like, that's an inevitable. I know you got it in my head. Inevitable part of our life. Like, we're going to go through losses. We're going to go through change. We're going to go through hard moments in life. Like, that is a part of life. And it's not trying to avoid that or get through it in the easy way. It's just learning how to better respond in those situations. And that is what mindfulness is, because you're giving yourself the time and the space and the awareness to be able to acknowledge, okay, in this situation, I used to respond in this way because that's what my body and brain has learnt, which helps me. But that no longer serves me. Like, I don't want to hide in a bathroom anymore. Like, I don't want to be able to express and cope in that way. So how am I going to learn a better way to be able to deal with and cope with that stress of life?
And I think that's where like the is it like your personality is like the avoidant, the attachment, like the anxiety attachments, they want to confront things front on. They need to speak about it, but the way that they react, the way their emotional part of it is somewhat out of control. Like, it's not, they're not able to use that logical part of your thinking. While others like to avoid, they don't like to think about it. And neither are wrong, but neither are right, because you do have to find a place where you're not reacting in a way that's harmful to yourself or to others, but you also can't avoid what thoughts are going on in your head, what's happening in real life, because there are things that are happening in your life. And if you're consistently avoiding them, then you're never going to learn to deal with it. And the more that you sit and understand those feelings, even if it's thoughts of something that happened 10 years ago, it's something that you've clearly tried to push to the back of your brain, that your subconscious is still holding on to and doesn't understand, and your newfound knowledge and beliefs is trying to fight it subconsciously. And it's why it's constantly being brought up, because it's fighting. It knows that you now have strategies in place through your practice of mindfulness and other strategies like journaling that you can deal with this now. And it wants you to. It wants you to sit in those states. It wants you to think of them, and it wants you to feel how you feel and learn to respond in a better way.
And I think a big thing is learning the difference between our emotions and our feelings, because our emotions are unconscious. Like, they are the things that we feel before we're even consciously aware of it, where our feelings can be unconscious, but they can also be conscious. So our emotions and feelings are two different things. They don't come in hand. Our feelings are what we shape and what we think about based off of the emotions that we're feeling. And that's why, like, learning, I think mindfulness is obviously so important, but that is being aware in your mind, which is why journaling, I think, is so beneficial, because you're actually putting what you've thought about, putting what you've raised your awareness out into the world onto paper, and that helps you be able to track your patterns, track and identify triggers or certain situations that usually do. Like, if every Monday I feel really anxious, well, what do I do on Mondays? Oh, I have this that's different in my life. Maybe that's a component to why I'm feeling that way. And it's just so good to be able to identify and acknowledge and just understand what is happening in your life, to be able to create those reactions and responses that you want to change.
I think it's really important to learn the difference between a feeling and emotion as well, because they can get blurred and it can be very hard to balance the two. And I've become more aware of it from a journaling book that I was given, and it stated the different feelings and the different emotions in it. So then I was able to identify the feeling and the emotion, because when you tend to think of a feeling, an emotion comes up, because they do play hand in hand, but they are completely different, and they're different parts of your brain and your conscious, subconscious that are responding to it. So it's really important to learn what is what, so then you can understand how you are responding to it and what is more in your control compared to what is later in your control.
Yeah, we really need to focus on what we can control in this life, because there are obviously going to be things that we can't control, and being aware that there are things that we can't control, like, that is life, but then intentionally spending time with ourselves to be able to focus on what we can control to better help our responses and our reactions and just the way that we deal with life's ups and downs. Like, it's so powerful.
Well, change is inevitable. Like, it's nothing, you can't stop things from changing, but you can change the way that you respond to the change, which is the really important and, I guess, such important part of mindfulness, is learning that you cannot change what is happening. You can only change your perception and how you're responding to the situation and to the world.
How I like to explain perceptions to people is like a lens. So your brain is the camera, and your eyes and your mind is the lens. So if you put a red lens over the camera, you're only going to be seeing red. That is your perceptions. Like, how you view something is based on how you think, how you feel, how you are in that moment. But then if you take that red one off and you do, oh, I've just done this mindfulness where I've really focused on loving my dog, for example. Like, my dog just chewed my shoe and I'm really angry at it right now. That's my red perception. Everything it's doing is pissing me off. Like, it keeps barking. I did that mindfulness. I'm bringing my awareness to that soul thing of, no, this is love. And then my black perception goes on, and then all of a sudden that dog is the best thing in the world. Like, I love it so much. Our perceptions are literally who we are, and how we influence them is through our thoughts, our emotions, how we're feeling, like what our experiences are. And our brain is never the same from seconds. Like, our brain is so malleable. Whatever we go through, it makes imprints in our brain and our mind, and that's how our perceptions are formed. Like, it's so easy to be able to change our perceptions, but it also takes a lot of time for them to actually stick. And that's why mindfulness practice, like I just want to have underlined practice. Like it's just so cool to like understand. And when you understand that it is a practice, like it's not just something that is like wrong with me. Like I've understood that I can do this to help me react this way. But when I'm in that stage where I'm heightened and I know that I can do this to get me here, but it's not working, instead of being like, oh my God, see, everything that I've done is just for nothing. Like I learned all this, but it's just not happening right now. I actually have the awareness of, okay, I've only been learning this for like a year and a half. I have so many years ahead of me, hopefully. We never know about life. But like I have so much time in my journey to be able to get to this place. And at this moment now, if I was there 2 years ago before I learned any of this, I would be in that hole like, oh my God, I don't have anything to help me. But because I know that I can help myself, but even though it's not helping right now, I know that along my journey, the more that I practice, the more consistent I am, the more that my brain will rewire itself and shape and just be able to create those reactions and responses that actually resonate with who I am now.
I think there is such an importance to identify that there is a difference between perception and delusion, because I feel like there's times where you try to change the way that you feel and you can go, oh, I'm just being delusional here, but you're actually kind of not, and it's depending on the way that you try perceive situations differently. Like take for example, if I'm sitting in traffic, like I can be, sometimes it's so frustrating, but if you change that perception and you just go, well, now I have time to sit here with my thoughts, I can call a friend now, I have time to call a friend, I have time to listen to that podcast that I really wanted to listen to. And instead of it being a frustrating situation of sitting in traffic, you're actually giving yourself time to either sit and think with yourself. You can practice mindfulness while you're there. You can learn new things. You can connect with people. And it's just reframing that perception of situations in a better light, because there is going to be negative reactions and there is going to be negative situations, but there's always going to be a positive side to it. Even with your dog, there are going to be times in life where you're not going to be happy with the way someone's responded to a situation, said something, but you know that that's not who they are, and it's just something may have happened within them and that they're projecting their own things outwards. And if you change that perception, then maybe you can be their comfort, you can be their shoulder, and you can help them figure out what's going on in their own life, instead of feeling that projection, feeling it internally and then projecting out onto yourself. You can actually start to understand what's going on inside of them and then become that connection person for them.
What you said about the traffic situation where it can be frustrating but then changing, that is literally the prime example of mindfulness. You feel, oh my God, I'm so frustrated, I'm in traffic now. But then you said, reframe your mind to, oh, I can call a friend, that is mindfulness. You're bringing your awareness to your thoughts, and instead of avoiding them or pushing them like, yeah, I'm freaking frustrated, doesn't matter, I'm just going to sit here, doesn't matter, like I can't help, that is avoiding your frustration. But because you're bringing your awareness to your frustration, then you are able to change your reaction to calling a friend or listening to a podcast. Like, so cool.
And there's so many ways that in your day-to-day life that you can practice this mindfulness. So one way that I didn't realize that I was already doing mindfulness by doing this is when I eat. So when I eat, I really try focus on what I'm eating, and I try really chew my food, feel the sensations, and really be present with what I'm eating and like loving the food that I'm eating. And that is a mindfulness practice. That is a food-related mindfulness practice. And there's so many different ways in your everyday life that you can be in a mindfulness practice. Even waking up in the morning, instead of checking your phone, just sit, breathe. That is mindfulness. Feeling how your body is feeling first thing in the morning, having that grounding of the first time that you touch the floor of that morning, feeling how your body feels when you first stand up. That is mindfulness, and it's something that can take a minute or 2 minutes of your morning that you could have spent scrolling, but you just chose to sit with yourself for 2 minutes, and you're starting your day already mindful.
Speaking of like not realizing when you're actually being mindful, I go on walks like every day. I freaking love walks. And not recent, like a year ago, I used to always listen to podcasts when I was on my walks, and I thought that was just my way of connecting to me. But that is just input. I'm not actually giving myself time. So I took my headphones off, and now I just go for mindful walks where I really focus on my surroundings. Like, I now, when I'm on a walk and I hear a bird, I say in my head, oh, that's the white bird. Like, I know what kind of bird it is just from knowing and just being around, like bringing my awareness to my surroundings and environment. And also another one where we go on the beach. When I sit on the beach, I really just focus on the sounds of the waves and stuff. Like, I just thought that was just my safe space, that was just me time, but that is mindfulness. Like, I'm bringing my awareness to the sensations around my environment. And it's so cool.
Even the feeling of the sun hitting your body, the feeling of your toes in the sand, that they are ways to be mindful. Mm-hmm. It's just being present in the moment, mm-hmm. and just understanding how your body's feeling. When you're in the water, take time to just lay down, relax, hear the waves crashing, feel the water on your skin. What does mm-hmm. it feel like? Feeling them sensations, because negative thoughts don't always have to arise, and there's going to be times where there's positive sensations and positive thoughts that's going through your mind. Mm-hmm. And feeling those positivities, when you're starting to feel in those heightened states, you kind of start to know, like, oh, how can I bring myself back in? What are some things that can help me regulate myself? If that is dipping yourself in water. Mm-hmm. For some people, that is just so mindful. Like, mm-hmm. it's just so regulating. Some people hate going in the sun. Some people hate the sand. That's not for them. Mm-hmm. And you can feel the sensations of your body going, get me out of this. My toes don't like this. And it's just understanding how your body is reacting to those situations.
That's why I always talk about trial and error. Like, we need to be able to put ourselves in different circumstances to be able to find what works best for us. Because I can think that one thing works best for me, but that's what I think will work. Until I try different things and try that thing, I won't actually know what works best for me, because my body might react a different way to what my mind and brain think that I will react. And a massive thing of, like, us as humans is connection. Like, we are social creatures. We are born to communicate, to collaborate, and just be in connection with others. And one thing that I found so cool about mindfulness is that when we practice mindfulness consistently, it actually improves and supports our communication. It improves our empathy, our kindness, our love, our perception on ourselves, which then goes out to the world and people around us. Like, it is so cool.
Well, it's because then you're able to have a different perception on how people are talking to you, acting mm-hmm. a certain way. And like we've said, you're also able to understand more of what they may be perceiving, mm-hmm. and you're able to communicate better to mm-hmm. try understand what they are feeling, what's going on inside of their body, instead of that wall getting pulled up and you feeling like you're now perceiving them in a way and you need to project certain ways. If you are feeling that love, kindness, you're feeling so secure within yourself by learning about yourself and learning your body, then that projections, it's not going to be negative. It's mm-hmm. going to be so positive, mm-hmm. and you're going to feel so much empathy towards the other person. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been such a good connection piece for us. There's been so many times where I have felt so projected, but just by the way that you are, and you never project back, I never feel that projection to you. I never feel that negativity towards you, because you're not giving it to me. So we don't give it to each other, because we feel that love, that empathy, that connection with each other, because we both try so hard to learn about ourselves and then each other.
Yeah. And that's also a massive thing with learning about how our perceptions are shaped through who we are. It helps us connect to others in the way that when they are angry, we understand that, oh, it's actually probably not me. Like, it is all them. Because I know when I'm angry, it's because I'm feeling frustrated in myself. And that awareness that that's how I feel, that's how other people feel as well. And it just helps you resolve conflict and just communicate better. Like if you're angry and you're like having a go at me, like it doesn't happen, but like if you were, I would, it like, and it enables you to be like, not defensive, like you're having a go at me, like what, this and that, like stop. It's actually, why are you feeling that way? Like what is going on right now? How are you feeling? What is making you respond to my simple request in anger? And it just helps us like break down those walls, and instead of going straight into our defense mechanism of mine's freeze, so if someone's freaking having a go at me, I'm like,
mine's fight.
See, like just knowing that it helps us stay out of that emotional brain and amygdala hijacking our bodies into, no, you're coming at me, I'm coming back at you, or no, you're coming at me, I'm just going to freeze. It's actually, I'm able to communicate and understand where you're at so I can better understand you.
And even within yourself, like I found that at times when I'm in my late luteal phase and my PMDD is kicking in, I project hard because my amygdala is in control and it's getting out of control, but it's in control and it likes to just think of negative things, so that I am perceiving things in such a different light compared to the rest of my cycle. But I'm now, when I feel myself starting to say things or perceive things in a different way, I can approach whoever it tends to that I'm with, that I'm projecting to. I'm able to tell them and go, I'm really sorry, this is a projection of myself and it's not an outlook of what you were doing or who you are. I'm feeling things internally and I think I should talk about it. And then so it also builds that connection of understanding when you are projecting and being able to reach out to the person that you may be projecting to, so then you can build that understanding and connection, because that projection doesn't just go away, especially depending on where you are in your cycle. But if you're having people around you that are usually around you during these stages, understanding when you might be projecting and what that projection may be about, because it's probably going to be quite consistent in what's coming about, then as soon as it comes about, they're going to be like, all right, we know how to deal with this. We've learnt, we've gone through this, we can work through this together.
That is a very big step, like you being able to actually understand and be aware that it's not them, it's you, but also being able to communicate. Like first step is like acknowledging and being aware within yourself. The fact that you can actually communicate that to people is like huge, because that is such a vulnerable side, and humans do not like vulnerability. Like that is terrifying, being able to tell someone like, this is actually me projecting right now. So just being able to have that awareness within yourself is powerful enough, but taking it to that next step of actually communicating that to others is just going to improve relationships and communication and just empathy, kindness, loving, happiness, your overall everything, your mental well-being, your mental, emotional, physical, everything. It is all connected. Like we are all connected. Our brain, our body, our mind. There is nothing within us and even outside of us that isn't connected. And people are going to feel that. Like the deeper that you go, being able to say, oh, I'm feeling this way at this moment, this is why I might be reacting this way, they're going to feel so connected to you because they can see your perception and what you're going through. And then that's when they feel that little bit of, oh yeah, I can see how she's feeling. I can kind of feel it as well. That's what empathy is. Because empathy is, you can understand someone, but you also want to help them. Like it's so powerful.
I think it's really important to learn to be vulnerable within yourself, so then you can learn to be vulnerable with other people. You've got to be vulnerable with yourself.
That's
it's so important, and it builds so much trust within yourself to be vulnerable. Because if you learn to be vulnerable while you're being mindful, your mind and your body and your brain is creating that trust and creating that connection that I can be vulnerable and I can get through this. I can create spaces and ways that I can get through this. And then the more that you build that within yourself, the more confidence that you'll build to be vulnerable with other people. But it's very important to know who to be vulnerable with. Being vulnerable with everyone right away. That's not going to be helpful towards you, because it can build more walls up. But having those, you're taught to have those far at that hand of the people that you feel closest to, that you can reach out to. They're the people that you need to identify and then try learn to be vulnerable with them once you've started to learn to be vulnerable with yourself. You don't have to be completely vulnerable with yourself to start to be vulnerable with others, because that connection with the universe, with those around you, is going to help build that trust to be vulnerable within yourself. When you're feeling that connection and you're feeling that you can be vulnerable with others, and you're feeling connected, you're feeling that trust within them, and then they're being vulnerable back with you, that's reaffirming to your subconscious brain that we can be vulnerable, and this is going to help us get through this.
And I think that is such a powerful thing of mindfulness. Like, mindfulness is learning how to be vulnerable with yourself, how to build that trust within yourself. Like, I'm feeling something right now, I'm not going to suppress it, I'm not going to try and avoid it, because suppression is when we acknowledge that we're feeling something in the moment, but we decide to push it away and suppress our feelings, just push it to the side and avoid it to delay the processing. But the thing with us is we suppress so much every day, but then the thing is, it's a short-term coping mechanism. Like, it's only meant to help us in the face of when we're in stress or circumstances where we can't feel like we can express and cope how we're actually feeling, to be able to still function in our day-to-day life. But we just don't give ourselves the time to actually process what we went through. And that's where mindfulness comes in, because that's when we allow ourselves to be like, okay, I suppressed this anger feeling when my coffee was wrong, but I was late for work, so I couldn't reorder it. But how did I feel that? And then you're allowing yourself to acknowledge how you felt, so it doesn't stay stored in your body. Because every suppressed emotion doesn't just disappear, it actually stays within our body. And it's just so important for us to be able to release. And that also brings us into the attitudes towards mindfulness when we go into it. So when we begin mindfulness, we need to be non-judgmental. We need to have a letting go mind, where whatever comes up, we just let it be. We accept it. We can't change what's happened, but we can change what's going to happen. So we really need to go into it with a beginner mind, where
you're not setting goals on what you want to get out of the mindfulness and letting it be.
Yeah. And we just got to, whatever comes up, like, face it with curiosity instead of judgment or shame. Like, we don't want to be able to be in this vulnerable state with ourselves and connect to who we are, but then when something comes up, we are shaming ourselves. Like, we need to be safe enough where we feel whatever comes up, it is safe. I'm allowed to feel how I feel. I can't hide parts of myself to me, because then how am I meant to be vulnerable and safe with other people if I'm not even safe with myself? Like, it's so important to be able to just allow whatever you're feeling, you're thinking, and your just emotions, your sensations, just acknowledge them and be like, okay, this is how I feel. How can I help you?
I think it's really important as well to get to a state where you can practice the mindfulness almost right away and not allow yourself to suppress and go, I'll get back to that later, because that suppression, it takes away so much of that physical sensations and the way that you're feeling. And then when you come back to it, you're not able to grasp the whole concept of it. When you first start, it can be very helpful to allow yourself to have time to then gain that other perspective, to learn how to cope with it better. But learning to be mindful and reframe the way that you think of things in the moment can change how you feel from that moment. And you don't have to wait for your mind to change. You don't have to wait for something else to come up to distract you, because that's what, when you suppress, you find distractions. You're not moving on from it. You're finding distractions to stop you from dealing with it. And if it's a conflict with someone else and you're finding ways to distract yourself, you're not that's that disconnect. And the longer that you're holding that resentment or that anger towards each other and ignoring it, the more that connection tends to strip away from each other. But if you deal with it full front at hand and you're understanding the way that you're feeling, you're being vulnerable, you're understanding how your body is reacting, and you're able to talk about it and let them know how your body is feeling. So then even when it's starting to happen again, you can have little cues, so you don't have to, you can just be like, my hands are tingling. And that person's going to know what's going on, and then you guys are able to work through it together.
And that all begins within yourself. Like, it's such a scary thing being able to be that vulnerable and deep with someone else. So it really needs to start with yourself. And that's where we practice this mindfulness, because when we do feel safe enough to feel and experience what we're actually feeling rather than what we think we're feeling within ourselves, it just becomes more natural to be able to communicate it with others. Like, I still really struggle with being able to express how I'm feeling in the moment of time. Like when someone's like, what are you feeling? Like, what are you feeling right now? I'm saying it in my mind. I know exactly what I'm feeling, but I just can't let it out. And it's just something that I need to work on. Like, even through this journey, like, I've become so much more trusting and vulnerable within myself, but there's still an aspect where I need to feel safe enough to express that. And that's just through practice, because yes, I do mindfulness, but it's all about practicing. And that's just me being able to connect more of those pathways in my brain, because the more that you walk a pathway, the stronger it gets. So the more that I practice it, the more that I become vulnerable, the more that I know I'm actually allowed to express myself. It's safe. And this comes down to like my childhood and just having to keep everything in. Like, that's 15 years of my life, and I've only been on this journey for 2 years. So obviously 15 over 2 is such a difference. Like, it's just relearning and reshaping and rewiring what used to keep me safe no longer serves me. That's not my safest option now, because I have such a different environment around me where I'm actually allowed to express. And that's one of the things with mindfulness, is we need to like learn that our brain and our body and our mind really like to keep on to past things. That's what feels normal for us. That's what feels safe to us. That's what's helped us survive and get to the place that we are today. But we are allowed to outgrow what once served us, because that does not serve me anymore. Silence used to help me. Silence used to protect everyone in my life. But now I'm not in that environment. I'm not in that space anymore. And silence does the opposite to me now. And I just need to like teach my brain and my body that I am allowed to express. Like, it is safe for me to do that now.
Which comes through practice, because you have so much practice of these past beliefs, this past rewiring of your brain, that to learn to unrewire it and rewire it in a different way, you need to practice. And to learn to become vulnerable with yourself and with others, you need to practice it. The more you practice within yourself of being vulnerable and talking about what emotions, what feelings are going through your body, the more that you practice that, the more easier it's going to come to do that with yourself and with others, because it's just becoming a routine, it's becoming a belief, and it's now your new way of coping.
And that's where our subconscious comes into play, because it absorbs the things that we repeat to it, where it's learned that, for my example, like silence, like it's learned, if you just keep everything to yourself, then everyone else will be okay. Like, if you just keep what's happened to you to yourself, everyone else will be okay. They'll go through their life, but you know that something's wrong, but that doesn't matter because everything else is okay. But now that I'm completely away from that, I can learn, and I am slowly learning. Like, I've been journaling for like 3 or 4 years now, and I have been able to communicate to myself on that vulnerable side, but it's still such a strong network or pathway in my brain that's like, yeah, you can talk, but like, you know, silence is always there. Like, your backup option is safe, it's normal. Like, it's just something that you can always go back to. But that's where pushing yourself out of your comfort zone does make you grow, because those times that I have been able to express in the moment, and I've got validation from it, and I've been able to feel safe from it, it's like oh, that's meant to make me feel unsafe. That's meant to hurt me. Why are you making me feel that way? And it's such a weird feeling, like your learnt behaviors to the behaviors that you're learning now, or just beliefs that you once held to the beliefs that you're trying to instill in your body. They just fight, and it's like, yeah, but this can help me. Yeah, but this has helped me. And it's like a constant battle.
And if you think about that evolution, you can continue to think about the evolution that your brain is going through. If you thought about your silence, if you think about the evolution that you've gone through to now be able to find your own ways to communicate. So for me, yours was silent, mine was aggression and anger. That's how, and I've now realized that I just needed to communicate. But because I was so filled with adrenaline and cortisol that I just had to leash it out. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how I wanted to say it, but it was built up, and I just say it in such a negative way. And as soon as I've said that, as soon as that adrenaline's gone, I'm like, that's what I wanted to say, but that's not how I wanted to say it at all. But if you sit there and you be mindful and you're able to come to terms with those things you're feeling that then lead to those situations that led to my anger, I'm now able to go and sit and just have a conversation and say, I'm starting to feel angry because of this. Instead of waiting for that anger to come in, because I was trying to suppress and go, no, I can do this, it's not that big of a deal, I'm not angry. I am angry. And it's not trying to suppress what you're feeling and try to change the way that you're feeling, but it's learning to understand how you were feeling and why you were feeling that, and how you can change your reaction to that feeling.
And this all comes down to practice, consistent practice.
Practice.
Literally, practice.
And even if you've practiced 100 times and you think you've got it down packed, there's going to be situations that come up where you're going to feel unpracticed, and you're not going to feel like you're going to be able to handle this situation, and you're going to feel like it's such a step back. But it's a learning curve, and you take it with curiosity and you try understand why you weren't able to handle it in the way that you wanted to. What am I still holding on to? What is my subconscious holding on to with this situation? What do I need to learn about myself? What do I need to sit and understand about this feeling, about this emotion?
That's exactly what I was going to say about what you learn can help you 100 times, but that one time that it doesn't help you, that doesn't mean that you haven't progressed that much. Like, we are so, like, as humans, we tend to focus on like the negative components or the negative experiences. But when we actually recognize, like, I have grown so much. Like, I have been able to help myself 100 times. This one time does not define who I am. It just means that there's something deep within me that still hasn't been resolved. And instead of being like, oh, I failed at this, like I can't help myself, this reaction that you're not so proud of, it's actually probably the most powerful thing that can happen to you, because that means, oh, I've helped myself with all of these things, but this thing still has a reaction. So what is it that I can help myself with this? Because triggers and responses that you aren't, like, it doesn't serve you, is actually such a good insight into what your subconscious still holds on to. And then that's when you can begin to learn new things as well, and just understand yourself in such a cool way.
And the way that you perceive your reaction to that one time where it didn't work, that really helps shape your confidence and your trust within yourself. If you're feeling it with such negativity and self-doubt, then your brain and your body and your conscious subconscious is going to believe that you are not ready, that you cannot handle this. But if you change that and you can identify, oh, maybe this is something that I need to work through, you're building that confidence of, I can work through this and I want to work through this. And that comes up so much in everyday life. Like, everyone always says, like, expect the worst so it can only get better. But why are you putting it out into the universe that the worst thing's going to happen? Why are you allowing yourself to feel the feelings, the sensations of it being the worst case scenario when it hasn't even happened yet. You're perceiving that worst case scenario before it's even happened yet, and you're having that doubt in your mind already. And if you change that to, no, I am going to get this job, I am going to nail this colouring in that I'm going to do, then you probably are. Or even if you don't, you're going to feel so much better about what you're doing, because you're going to be proud of yourself for what you're doing, because you're changing that mindset and not always looking at things in that negative light and looking at it with curiosity. If my drawing did go all wild, it's curiosity, it's abstract, it's cool, it's a representation of what's going on in my life, and you can just perceive it in such a different way, and it brings so much happiness to yourself.
What I loved about learning about resilience with mindfulness is resilience is the core to mindfulness. Like, mindfulness is what teaches you how to be resilient. Because resilience, the definition of resilience is about how we're able to adapt to threats, trauma, stress, and just bad situations in life, and how we can react and respond to those inevitable things in life. And that is what resilience is, adaptability. And through mindfulness, we're teaching ourselves and becoming aware of new ways that we can become adaptable to those things. Like,
it's learning that change can be okay.
Yeah.
And that you can face adversity.
We're not trying to stop it, we're not trying to avoid it, we're learning how we can go through it with the best ways around us to help us stay true to ourselves and just really learn how we want to be able to react to things, instead of that amygdala just taking over and our old beliefs and old systems taking over.
That reminded me of like this childhood thing of, you can't go under it, you can't go over it, guess we gotta go through it. And that is just such a good analogy of mindfulness and learning. Like, you can't find ways to go around it. You've got to take it on, and you've got to learn how to respond to your body in the ways that you want to, and learn how your body is already responding. And find ways that you want to respond to it.
Yeah.
This was great.
This was
great.
I loved it.
I loved this too, and I hope you guys loved it just as much as we did.
Sorry, we're a bit yappers. But
Flow state.
Yeah. The main thing is mindfulness isn't about stopping your thoughts, avoiding your feelings, stopping your sensations. It's all about allowing those thoughts, those feelings, those emotions to arise, and being aware of them and just being non-judgmental towards them. You are allowed to feel these things, and the way that you respond to these is that is what you can change. You can't change these things, but you can change how you react and respond. And through that is practice, consistent practice. What are your main takeaways or things about mindfulness as an end point?
My main takeaways from mindfulness is learning to be adaptable to the different thoughts and sensations in your body and what's coming up. Some things may be really easy to sit with, and some things your brain and your subconscious really wants you to avoid. And it's really important that you find time and space that you feel safe to try and take them on. I just think that it's just such a cool thing, and it's got such a misinterpreted view on itself. And when you hear someone say that they've been practicing mindful, there's so much laugh and judgment around it, when the whole practice of it is to be non-judgmental. But if you're talking to someone who does practice this mindfulness, you can tell that they're not affected by the way that others respond to what they're doing, because of what they're learning within themselves.
They're connecting to themselves.
They're connecting to themselves so deeply that the others' perception isn't affecting themselves. and their perception on themselves turns more positively, and it does positively affect how you feel inside and how you project to the world and how you perceive the world. Even in my everyday life, I find so much more joy in my everyday life. Like driving to work, I don't care if there's traffic anymore. I used to wake up so annoyed that I'd have to get into traffic. I used to hate waking up in the morning, but now I'm so excited to get up in the morning. I love my day. I love seeing the sunshine. I love hearing the trees. I love just being aware of my body. I love, even before we started this, I had tremendous anxiety, and I felt so much excitement with that anxiety. I understood how my body was feeling, and I was able to reassure myself that it is okay to feel anxious. It means that you care, and it means that you're excited, and it doesn't mean stop. Having these negative feelings doesn't mean stop. It may mean slow down, it may mean look within, but it doesn't mean your whole life has to stop. You just may have to stop for a few minutes.
So I hope that you learnt something, or we just inspire you to be able to set that intentional time for yourself to connect to your body and your mind and whatever you go in with that intent, and just have no goals when you go into it. So just say, okay, not even I'm going in there for 5 minutes, just I'm going to sit with myself, and just allow yourself to focus probably on your breath at first. Like when I began this, I really focus on your breath, and when you do focus on your breath, your mind will wander, and that is okay. That is the biggest misconception, I think. Like, I thought your mind was not allowed to wander. If my thoughts were going away from my breath, I failed it. But that is completely wrong. Like, that is a practice of mindfulness. Being aware that your thoughts are wandering off and bringing your awareness back to your breath is just as important as being aware of your breath itself.
It's important to note that when your mind is wandering, to allow yourself to feel and understand what your mind is wandering about. You can't just allow it to wander. You have to understand why it's wandering, how your body is responding, and how you would like to respond to it. And kind of speak to yourself in a sense of what your mind wandered about, how that feels in your body, and how you're responding to it.
But don't try and stop it or say, oh, my mind's wandering, I shouldn't be thinking that. No, it's, oh, my mind's wandering, why? Curiosity, not judgmental. Open mind and let it go. Let it be. Accept.
Let it go. Let it go. Can't hold me back anymore.
Connect to yourself with intentional time. Mindfulness shapes your brain.
Here I stand with my wandering thoughts. Let the storm rage on.
'Cause it's inedible in life.
The cold never bothered me anyway, 'cause I can do with anything that I want to.
We have so much power within.